Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. My email is tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a model that launched in late 2006 for the 2007 model year. This is the Breguet Marine Tourbillon Chronograph, reference 5837 in red gold. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, 14.2 millimeters thick from lug to lug tip. It is 52.8 millimeters across the wrist with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs to give it a nice broad stance. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and I could wear this watch, but if my wrist were any smaller, I could not. So 16 centimeters circumference and up. The down the barrel shot shows you that the lugs are out to the edge of my wrist, but not quite beyond. Over the top, you could see that they are right out to the edge. And then the cuff shot reveals that although the watch is not particularly thin, it does have a dramatically sloped flank, so you should have no trouble fitting it underneath a cuff. So 16 centimeters circumference, wrists and up. There are a couple of different character elements molded into the rubber strap. Strakes on the top, you see these little recessed lines. Then we have a pyramid fashion that's molded in adjacent to the lugs on each profile, along with the name of the company. All of this matte black on the underside. A wave motif that helps to vent the wrist and also thins out the material to make it more pliant and flexible. Note this is a brand new Breguet factory strap. That wave motif is recurring, as you'll find it on the dial. You'll find it in the profile of the chronograph pushers. You'll find it in the reverse of the case. You'll also find it at the buckle, where we have a wave form rose gold strap minder, and then we have a wave profile on the flank of the buckle. Note, Breguet branded, satin and polish. We'll open up the clasp, and it's a single fold deployant with a snap-shut friction fit system, the better to prevent a disaster while donning or removing this heavy and expensive watch at your bedside. That's what a clasp does for you. Insurance against dropping. The lugs are massive, and the strap is fully integrated. You can see it closes the gap to the case. It's also sloped to match the downward slope of the lugs. The watch does have a little bit of virtual strap width. So what I mean by that is that the strap won't pull straight down vertically out of the lugs, so it creates the impression of a broader watch on the wrist. Now, if you want to see what I mean by pulling the lug or the strap straight down out of the lug, it looks like this. Now I'm pulling the strap straight down. It's not flaring out and fighting me, whereas here there is a little bit of rigidity. So that's just something to note in terms of fit. It's beautifully made. As you can see, the lugs are welded into the case band, which is an old school, slow and laborious way of making a case. Low volume and artisanal. That's how you get that super sharp break between lug and case that's generally not achieved by popular stamping and machining methods of mass production. The strap is held on using screws and bars, which is a robust and somewhat more expensive way of fixing a strap to a case, but it's also more secure and foolproof than spring bars. We have a crown. Surprisingly, it is a push-down crown because this watch is 100 meters water resistant, whereas a standard Breguet Marine would have waves or a wave-form crown guard structure. Here, each of these is actually a pusher for the chronograph. Taking a look at the case flank, coined all the way around. We have a double-tiered bezel. You can see polished. It features a conical profile, and then inboard of that, there's a little bit of a domed curvature. So while it's a two-tiered bezel, they're not identical tiers. There is a difference in their shape, which is a wonderful little piece of nuance. On the dial side, we have a dial that is made of solid gold. It's then cut on a rose lathe to create the billowing rosette pattern, or the wave form, almost Nautilus shell inspired motif on the dial, and you can see it exists inside the sub-registers as well. The hour track as well as the sub-register tracks are satinated metal. The watch features applique radially arrayed Roman numerals, including a watchmaker's 4. These numerals are all in rose gold. The hands are fired blue steel, Lancet style counterweighted for chronograph, and then modified Breguet style for hours and minutes. Let's do a quick loom shot, because this is a fully loomed sports watch. The hands are a different color than the indices, which makes it easy to tell them apart. You can see the polished inner face of the bezel reflecting those luminescent indices. The watch does feature a chronograph. We have our chronograph seconds, chronograph minutes, and chronograph hours. We have a 1-minute tri-spoke tourbillon with a cage that's made out of polished and beveled titanium, deeply impressive. It is a tourbillon that beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It's free sprung for durability, adjusted in a superb 6 positions, one more than a standard chronometer. It features recessed variable inertia bolts for precise setting, shock resistance, and also reduced impact of aerodynamic drag on the system. Now you can see the escapement, the lever and the escape wheel below the cage. They're actually sort of an iridescent purple blue. So the escapement here is made of silicon. It does feature conventional pallet stones, but the lever and the wheel are both silicon for improved manufacturing tolerances, reduced friction, and also reduced mass in operation. So this is a very light escapement and a very light tourbillon being made largely of a combination of titanium and silicon. Deeply impressive in its finish as well as its details. I looked all over this watch for the Breguet secret signature, the little signature that says Breguet in an antiquarian script. Well, it's not on the dial. You're never going to believe where I found it. It's actually deep reactive ion etched into the silicon escape lever. That's where you'll find it. You're going to look for a while before you do. But I just gave up the game so you know it's there. Also in silicon, the hairspring, which is a flat silicon hairspring, profoundly anti-magnetic like the escapement, and also resistant to thermal cycling, high and low, so the watch will not vary much in its timekeeping prowess as temperatures change. So again, we have a solid gold dial, a tourbillon of silicon and titanium, and then a little note that once upon a time, Breguet was the official watchmaker to the French Navy. Now, flipping it all over, we have a glorious LeMagna-based caliber. Breguet and LeMagna are one company now. This LeMagna is now manufacturer Breguet. A combination of rose gold gilded bridges and plates and stainless steel parts, or steel parts as you can see satinated and polished in silver. Easy to recognize. It's a manual wind with a 50-hour power reserve. This is caliber 554.3. It does feature the 1-minute tourbillon, Breguet's most famous invention. You have this little revolutionary calendar. That's what that indicates right there. It indicates, I believe, June 26th of 1801, which in terms of revolutionary calendar would have been the date of the original Breguet tourbillon patent, and so that's how you express it, that little notation right there. You can see 6-position adjustment, superb, one more than a standard high horology watch. Pivots on 28 jewels, and it is gloriously beautiful. It has a column wheel for the operation of the chronograph. You can see the column wheel in action here. Also a traditional lateral clutch, and it has wonderfully crisp feel and sound. The column wheel is exemplary. The finish is world class. You can see beveling on both the bridges in gilded brass as well as the stainless steel components of the chronograph. The chronograph components are all steel, but you can see right there on the clutch just how well those are beveled, just like the other components. Now, what really impresses me is the use of interior angles. They're everywhere on this watch. Take a look at the half bridge for the tourbillon, the upper tourbillon bridge. You could see these 4 sharp interior angles where that skeletonized component has been interior beveled. The angles are formed where the 2 bevels converge with a sharp crease. That's what I mean by an interior angle. And you could see that there are tons of them on the structure that underpins the tourbillon. So you get an absolute embarrassment of riches with this watch. Not 1, not 2, but multiple interior angles executed on both sides. You can see a really good example of that there. Now we have stripes across the bridges. We have wheels that are satinated, and if you look, you can see most of the wheels, especially for the chronograph mechanism here, they use a wheel design drawn from Breguet pocket watches of the 18th and 19th century. All screwheads are black polished with chamfered slots. Very impressive stuff. You can see there's a little golden chaton holding the lower pivot of the tourbillon carriage, a nod to the pocket watch era. You can also see that on both steel and gilded components, the jewel sinks feature mirrored partridge eye internal beveling, which is fantastic attention to detail. This represents one of the finest timepieces I have ever reviewed on the channel, and being loomed and a chronograph and 100 meters water resistant, this is a legitimate sports watch. Handmade case, dial, movement, just exhausting refinement throughout. This is as good as it gets from a brand that's become the best kept secret in pre-owned high horology. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Look at that gorgeous free sprung 1-minute tourbillon. Gorgeous.